Hello boys, hello girls, hello babes. Welcome back to the Janae Talks Caps podcast. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in today. And we would like to invite you, if you haven't already done so, to please subscribe to our podcast if you do like the show. We are available across all major podcast platforms, so you can subscribe anywhere. That includes, of course, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, even on iHeartRadio. And hey, leave us a review if you feel so inclined, as those reviews really do help to get the name of our show out there, and every little bit helps. And we certainly appreciate every little bit as well. And just wanted to say as well that I am recording kind of on the go today. So apologies if there is a little bit of background noise in this episode here. I don't have the mic or anything with me. Like I said, recording on the go a little bit today. So there might be a little bit of background noise for today's show. But it is still going to be a great episode. We've got a lot to talk about. So now that little bit of housekeeping is out of the way, and you have clicked on that subscribe button, let's get down to talking some Washington Capitals hockey. So 2 regular season games have been played so far by the Washington Capitals, resulting in 1 win and 1 loss. So we will break all of this down in more detail. But overall, I would say that it's a perfectly decent start for a team that's trying to get used to playing a new system under a new head coach. There are definitely some things that they need to clean up, but that hopefully will come with time and with just more games played as they get more used to Spencer Carbery's system. So, but I obviously like that they are banking a couple of standings points at least early on, even through their growing pains with learning the new system, because that is always important. Certainly as we saw last season, that being to bank some points early on. So you love to see that. They are off to a better start already than they had last season. As you will recall, they had dropped their first 2 games last season, an 0-2 start, and that obviously turned out to be kind of a little bit of foreshadowing for how the rest of the season was going to go for the Capitals. So more positive signs to work with this season for sure. The season opener against the Pittsburgh Penguins, it wasn't great. Let's just get that out of the way right off the top. The Caps lost the game 4-0. So we will talk about that one. And then for their second game, the Caps beat the Calgary Flames 3-2, with that one going all the way to a shootout. And that was a gutsy win for the Caps to pull out, because they actually trailed in that game by a score of 2-0. So 4 periods into this season, they were being outscored 6-0. So it would have been easy enough for them to, kind of get discouraged. But they rallied back and ultimately won that game. So we will talk about that one as well. But first, the Pittsburgh game. Now, the score, of course, does not look pretty for the Caps in this one. And for a lot of the game, frankly, the scenes on the ice were not pretty for the boys in red either. But the Caps did look really, really good in the first period, although they were not rewarded for it with any goals on the board. But certainly early on in the season, the process is maybe just as important as the results. And the process did look very, very good in the first period for the Caps. So that is one positive that we can take out of this game. However, that is basically where the positive ends, at least for that first game of the season. The final 40 minutes of that one were no bueno, amigos. No bueno. The Caps basically got lit up in the second period. The Penguins were also helped out by the fact that they were on the power play for much of the period. But still, even if the entire game was being played at 5-on-5, I honestly don't think it would have made much of a difference in this one, if I'm being honest with myself, as the Caps just looked wildly out of sorts at times in this game. And you know what? They looked like a team that was playing their first National Hockey League game in 6 months. That's what they looked like. It was game 1 of 82. And, the same thing actually happened to these same Pittsburgh Penguins in their season opener as well. They were at home in Pittsburgh against the Chicago Blackhawks, who, they should beat, right? Despite the fact that they now have Connor Bedard, they're still on paper a very, very bad hockey team. So, and yet the Penguins ran out of their own building by the Hawks in the third period of that one, coughing up a multi-goal lead and losing 4-2 to a chorus of boos from their own Pittsburgh fans. So shit happens, right? Especially when, like I said, you haven't played meaningful hockey in 6 months. Beauty League notwithstanding. But anyways, yeah, I mean, like Evgeny Malkin, he opened the scoring against the Caps as 3 Caps defenders forgot entirely where their own net was for a second. Sidney Crosby, he then scored back-to-back power play goals, both of his goals coming on the power play. And Riley Smith, then he added another one kind of in garbage time at the end there for the final 4-0 score. I should note as well that backup goaltender Charlie Lindgren, he was in net for the Caps for the season opener, as regular starting goaltender Darcy Kuemper's wife was busy giving birth to their first child. So Kemps had to miss the game, but that's obviously understandable. And a big congratulations goes out, obviously, to the Kempers. But yeah, certainly, like, it was not a banner night for the Caps in their season opener. We can say that, right? Alex Ovechkin did absolutely obliterate new Penguins defenseman Erik Karlsson with a huge open ice hit, though. That happened right at center ice. Clean hit, big clean hit. It just absolutely trucked him, really. So that was nice, but that was basically the only highlight of the night for the Capitals. However, the Caps would get, like I said, another crack at things on home ice against the Flames on Monday night, and this time they would make good on it. The game against the Flames, it didn't start off so hot, though, at least not for the Caps. It started off very hot for the Flames. And listen, I've put a post-game reaction video about this up on YouTube where I go over all of it. And that video is actually part of a new video series that I have started called CPR, or Capitals Post-Game Reaction. So those videos are going to be up on YouTube after every Capitals game this season. If you guys like it, we'll continue it season after season as well. I would love it if you would head on over there and check it out, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like it too. The channel name over on YouTube is Janaea Talks Caps. But yeah, I mean, like, at the time that the Flames scored the game's first goal, they were out shooting the Caps by a count of 13-0. 13-0. And they finally scored on their 13th shot on Darcy Kuemper, who was back in net, like I said, for this one. 13-0 were the shots in favor of the Flames. So that is unacceptable, an unacceptable start to the game. And I'm saying that they, quote unquote, finally scored the game's first goal. But I don't mean that finally in an actual, like, minutes past sense. I mean it simply in a shots on net sense, as Kuemper, like I said, he was playing out of his mind. He had already stopped 12 shots. But, like, in terms of the actual amount of minutes that had passed by in the game in order for the Flames to get to that obscene amount of shots, it was only like 5 minutes of gameplay. That's all it took for the Caps to give up 13 shots on their net, was 5 minutes. So, like I said, that's honestly a pretty disgusting lack of anything resembling hockey to start this game for the Caps. It was, like I said, inexcusable. There's no other way to put it. I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat it. I'm not even going to attempt to put lipstick on this pig here. It was ugly. Ugly start. No excuses. It's inexcusable, like I said. So, but, now all of that being said, the Caps did seem to find their legs in the second period. And as a result, I had to completely change what I was writing up for this recap, because I was honestly ready to come on this show and just completely tee off after what we saw in the first game, combined with how this second game of the season was now going, how this one had started. But wouldn't you know it, the boys, like I said, they turned it around in the last 40 minutes. So second period, like I said, the Caps essentially woke up, pulled their heads out of their asses, and started playing hockey. And rookie Matthew Phillips, he would get the first goal of the game and of the season for the Washington Capitals, and it was his first career NHL goal, and it was also against his former organization, that being the Calgary Flames organization, which he left during this past offseason because the Flames, the NHL team, had never really given him a legitimate shot to prove what he could do at the NHL level. Even after he had held up his end of the bargain by leading their AHL team in goals in the last 2 straight seasons. So that is not a great look there for the Calgary Flames, as Phillips, he lights the lamp against his former team. Or I guess technically it's his former non-team, since they wouldn't give him a shot playing for them. But yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful goal too. First, Sonny Milano with the sweet saucer pass, and then of course Phillips, like I said, with the super soft hands in tight for the finish. It was a silky goal. I saw a lot of Flames fans on Twitter who were pretty pissed off about it, as you've not only got Phillips being the one doing the scoring of the goal, but you've also got Sonny Milano serving up the assist, the primary assist there. And Milano is, of course, another player who the Flames gave up on way too early under Daryl Sutter. But, Caps fans certainly aren't complaining. In fact, if the Flames have got any other, I'm just throwing this out there, if you've got any other, if you've got any more super skilled players that you just want to throw away for no reason, you can toss them our way. We don't mind at all. We'll take them. We'll be your garbage bin, happily. So yeah, the Phillips goal made it a 2-1 score. And then shortly after that, we have got another young player, 22-year-old Connor McMichael. He ties up the game for the Caps, coming in 1-on-2 on the Flames defense, and he just skates in and basically just wires home a wrist shot. It gets past Jacob Markstrom to tie the game. So at the end of the second period, we are all tied up at 2 goals apiece. And I should mention as well that it was an excellent penalty kill by the Capitals near the end of that second period that ensured that the score would remain tied at 2 goals apiece heading into the third. And that was kind of a little bit of foreshadowing as well, as there would be a ton of penalty calls coming against the Caps in the third period. It was a parade to the penalty box, including a call that gave the Flames a third period penalty shot, which, if you don't mind me saying so, it was a terrible call. In no world was that worthy of a penalty shot. You cannot convince me of that. I thought it could have been called a 2-minute minor, sure, but definitely not worthy of a penalty shot, and certainly not in the third period of a tied game. So that was just Bush League for me. But anyhow, it didn't really matter, as Darcy Kuemper would ultimately make the save on that penalty shot, keeping the game tied at 2. And then the Caps, like I said, they would even have to kill a few more penalties during that third period before all was said and done. And they did it. They came up with some absolutely stellar penalty kills late in order to keep the game tied, in order to get themselves to overtime where they'd have a chance to win it and to get the 2 points. They had a huge penalty kill with about 8 minutes left in the game, and then they had another one with about 3 minutes left in the game. They actually didn't even allow a single Calgary Flames shot on that last Flames power play with 3 minutes left. So just a stellar clutch effort by the PK, and it preserved the score and got the Caps into overtime. The 5-minute overtime period passed with pretty much no incident. The closest anyone got to ending the game was probably when Evgeny Kuznetsov slithered his way past the Flames defense and in on Jacob Markstrom. But Markstrom made a very strong save, using those 8-foot-long legs to close off the bottom portion of his net. So it remains tied, and we head to the shootout. And it was there that Evgeny Kuznetsov would get the last laugh on Jacob Markstrom. So he snipes the game winner past Markstrom after again utilizing his super slow motion shootout move that he scores on literally every single time. It's almost becoming like a cheat code at this point. All of these goalies know that it exists, but they are still completely helpless trying to stop it. Reminds me of another cheat code a little bit, a cheat code called the Alex Ovechkin one-timer. So, and listen, Darcy Kuemper, he went 3 for 3 in the shootout. Nothing got past him. And that was really just a continuation. It it was really just a continuation for him of the entire game, of regulation, of overtime, and all the way through that shootout there. He was unbelievable in his first game of the season. 38 saves in regulation and overtime, plus, like I said, 3 for 3 in the shootout to get the win. So just a stellar performance by the new dad. I absolutely loved his celebration at the end of the game too. At the end of the shootout there, he did this awesome motion over towards his teammates on the Caps bench, like he's rocking a baby back and forth in his arms. It was awesome. So, and it's a great sign for the Caps if he is going to play like that every night, or even anywhere close to that. Hopefully, like, you're not asking your goalie to make 38 saves every night, but you get what I mean, right? So overall, a great W for the Caps in their second game of the season. They showed, like I said, a lot of resiliency at multiple points throughout the game. First in obviously coming back from a multi-goal deficit, tying the game up, and then, of course, in finding a way to kill off all of those penalties, especially, like I said, the ones late in the game where the game was really on the line. You probably don't really have much time left to try and tie the game back up again after that if you give up a power play goal there, especially with 3 minutes left, 8 minutes left even. It's not a lot of time left to try to retie the game back up. So it was great to see the guys to really bear down and get those kills. And like I said, not even give the Flames a sniff at the net on that last power play with 3 minutes left. So it was the most crucial time in the game, that PK with 3 minutes left. So that was really great to see. I mentioned it in my post game reaction video, but to me, this was kind of exactly the kind of game that the Caps lost all season long last season under Peter Laviolette, right? These games where, you're in the game, you've played okay, you're tied late in the game, you take a penalty or a penalty gets called against you. How many times did we see this exact story, this exact script play out last season under Peter Laviolette, where there's a late penalty call against the Caps in a tied game, and it felt like they never got that big penalty kill. They could never come up with that big kill to keep the game tied. They were always giving up the late goal, to go down by a goal and to lose in regulation and get no standings points. So for me, with all of those penalty kills at the end of this game here against the Flames, just to see them kill those off, and to see them at least get into overtime and get the single standings point, at that point for me, I was good. This already feels different than last season, because last season they were blowing that game 100%. They were losing in regulation. So to me, it already felt different, and it's good signs for moving forward. Like I said, there's obviously still a lot of things to clean up. They're getting used to this new system under new head coach Spencer Carbery. So there is a lot of things to clean up, but it was good just to see the resiliency back in the Caps game once again. That was a hallmark of their game, obviously, throughout the Barry Trotz years. It would be great to see. It kind of went away with Todd Reirden, and certainly with Peter Laviolette, as the years went along here. So it would be great. They had gotten away from that, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So it would be great to see them get back to that, just having that type of resiliency built into your team, into your team's identity. It would be awesome to see them get back to that. So this was a good start under Spencer Carbery, and I'm not going to lie, you guys, it is getting pretty difficult here not to get super jacked up about these young players that we've got and how they're playing. Connor McMichael in particular, he looks like an absolute stud out there. I really liked Beck Malenstein's game against the Flames too. He was out there just trucking people. Beck the check, baby. Hershey Bears fans will know that reference. And Alexi Protas, he looked good again as well. And obviously Matthew Phillips, although that's kind of starting to go without saying at this point. That kid is really, really good. I honestly cannot believe that the Flames never gave this kid a shot. He is so obviously capable of being a contributing scorer at the NHL level. Like, you can see it every time he touches the puck. He's making good things happen. So I don't understand what the Calgary Flames were thinking with that one. And Alex Alexeyev, he had another strong game on the back end for the Caps too. So all around, they've got these good, talented young kids at seemingly every position now, and it's great. It's great. These kids are going to be good for a very, very long time. And there's obviously even more on the way. There's even more coming. And in fact, the best ones aren't even here yet, if we're being honest. They're still in Hershey or in juniors. Did you guys see that Andrew Crystal, he had another 5-point game for the Kelowna Rockets the other day? 5-point game again. So him, Ivan Miroshnichenko, Ryan Leonard, Alexander Suzdalev, Hendrix Lapierre, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. It really does. So it is an exciting time to be a Caps fan. And like I mentioned off the top of the podcast, we've got you guys covered here. We are doing weekly episodes all season long. And like I said, if you guys do like video content as well, please do check out our YouTube channel. Like I said, it's under the same name, Janaea Talks Caps, and that's for those post-game videos that we're doing. I'm already having a ton of fun making those. You get to celebrate if they win, and you get to yell and scream and commiserate with other fans if they lose. So it's pretty much the perfect balance. So anyways, that is all we have got for you today, folks. The Caps' next game is Wednesday night in Ottawa against the Senators. So the Senators playing pretty well to start the season. They've been an up-and-coming team now for a while. They're looking to make this the year that they take that next step and finally get back into the playoffs. So they're off to a pretty good start. So hopefully the Caps can, play well and pick up their first road W of the season in their first road game of the season. Either way, like I said, we will be with you all the way right here on the Janaea Talks Caps podcast. As always, thank you all so much for listening, babes. And until next time, let's go Caps.